And welcome to another edition of the Peak and First podcast. My name is Josh, and I get the pleasure of serving as the online ministries here at Peak and First.
Hello, everyone. My name is Sean, and I get to be the pastor here at Peak and First.
And this is episode 19, Doubt Sneaks In Through the Quicksand.
I doubt that.
All right, and as we do every week here on the Peak and First podcast, we are going to start with this week's personal best. This is something good that happens throughout our personal life throughout the week, and we do this every week. And I'll go first this week. And my personal best is me and my youngest, Emily, who some of you have seen on our welcome videos and whatnot, and she's a good helper here at the church. We were riding along down Court Street or something like that, and I had WCIC on, and it was pretty low. It was just kind of at a low, kind of ride around with a low roar type of thing, just a noise in the background. And she got a song that she liked, and she cranked it up.
Nice.
And I was overjoyed that she wants to rock to Christian music.
That's excellent. That is so good.
So that is my personal best.
Love that. Love that. I think mine is going to be family related as well. And if you're a part of our church family, I have been asking you to be praying for my mom. My mom and dad live in Florida, and they've both been dealing with some health issues lately. Mom particularly, she had an incident on Christmas Eve where she fell, and they have not been able to really figure things out since then. But she got some good reports from her doctors this week, and I had a good conversation with mom and dad on the phone on Sunday, as I do every week. But this one was particularly good because they had gotten some good results from the doctors, and things are not looking like what we were afraid that they might be looking like. So that's good news, and I think that was a highlight of my week. And I do ask that you continue to be praying for my mom. Those of you who are prayers, thank you for that, and just keep lifting her up. And we're trusting that God's going to continue to do what He's doing in her life.
Absolutely. Prayers to Florida for sure. All right. Well, this episode 19 is, again, called Doubt Sneaks In Through the Quicksand. So by definition, quicksand is a saturated sand that behaves like a liquid, and it's making it appear solid but collapsing under weight. I looked that up by the AI. That was an AI definition. Quicksand has a similar definition in sports, and I actually learned this through a movie, and it was a very great inspirational speech. And if you know what it is, email me at podcast@peakandfirst.org. Sorry, let's try that again. podcast@peakandfirst.org, and tell me what the movie is. And it's quicksand in sports is when one thing goes wrong on the field or the court, and then another, and then another. And the more you try fighting back and the harder you fight, the deeper you sink. Pretty soon you can't move because you're in over your head. So how many times in our lives do we find ourselves over our head because the ground below us has given out, or we feel like the ground below us is given out? And the maybe you're feeling overwhelmed because of a career, or maybe because you're fighting, you're fighting against the quicksand because of a marriage or a relationship issue, or at every turn something seems to go wrong, and the ground just seems to be sinking. So this week we're going to explore how we've been given a way out of the quicksand through a second chance. And you hit a little bit on your sermon this last week. So I do encourage you to go back and listen to the sermon as well. He gave us a way out of addiction, loneliness, and doubt. In our darkness, we will always be in doubt, but we will always find the light.
Yeah. And if I can maybe, if you haven't heard the sermon, or even if you have, chances are you probably forgot a couple of the points in there, but maybe I could just reiterate a couple of things that I think are really important. We looked at Jesus' statement from the cross, my God, why hast thou forsaken me?" And it's such a compelling statement for Jesus to make. And so many ways of thinking about what he's saying there. Clearly, he in his full humanity is identifying with us as human beings and acknowledging that we're going to have doubts, we're going to have questions, there are going to be those moments. The text says that prior to him saying this, there were 3 hours of complete darkness. And, we see that as symbolic of exactly what you're talking about, these quicksand times in our lives where we find ourselves in what seems to be a really, really dark place where there is an absence of light, and we wonder if God is around. And the answer to the question, of course, is that he is. He's right there. He has not removed himself. He's not left. And that if we follow that psalm, in fact, my God, why have you forsaken me, is the first line of Psalm 22. And you follow that psalm all the way through, what you finally get to ultimately is that God hears the cry of the needy, that God will come through for us, and there's promise and hope there, that Jesus never lost hope. He was just indicating, I think, to us that he identifies with us. So when we're going through stuff, we can always call upon Jesus and know that he understands.
Absolutely. We have Teen Challenge here every so often, and it's coming up soon. I don't know the exact date.
First weekend in June.
First weekend in June. And I always remember they tell stories about their addiction and their recovery and stuff like that, and their faith. And I'll never forget, and I don't know the kid's name, but I do remember the story, and that is I was face down in a ditch. He was literally face down in a ditch, and he goes, I looked up and realized that, God takes me this far down so that I have to look up at him. And that's when his whole life changed. And I'll never forget that story. Just a real story. We face these real challenges every day where you want to doubt what's going on around you. You want to have doubt. I didn't know if I was going to tell the story or not, but I'll go ahead and tell it. So recently in my life, I have had 2 careers in my life. I've been in the car business and I've been in real estate. So 2, we'll call them volatile markets. And in every season we have failures, right? And we learn from our failures, and we learn to trust God in our failures. And in the car business, I had one failure, and it was a pretty big one. I'm sure there was a lot of little ones along the way, but one big one. And, we ended up having to close a business, not because of my failure, but I was part of that team. Right. And then the second one is currently going on in my life. And I say failure, that's a little harsh, but it's a setback. It's just not going the way that you thought it was going to go. And at the moment, I've been in this industry of real estate for 15 years, and I am failing. And I'm failing on my own accord. And it's because somebody told me, never be the expert, always be the student, right? And I find that in my faith. We're never experts in our faith. We never know what God has in store for us. We never have... we don't know. We can't predict the future. That's not for us. God has that plan. We don't. Right. And even though I got a big head. I thought I knew what I was doing, and I didn't. I do, but not as much as I thought I did. And you gotta hang your head sometimes and have faith that God is gonna walk you through it.
Yeah. We went Sunday afternoon. There was a gathering of clergy and laity for the Illinois Great Rivers Conference. That's the United Methodist Church conference that we're a part of here. And one of our bishops, we have 2 bishops currently serving. One of our bishops, the current bishop in Iowa, was doing a town hall meeting, and she was talking about this idea of failure in ministry. And she basically just said, if you're not failing, you're not trying. That, if we're, especially in you talk about volatile business, I mean, the church is pretty volatile right now. And we've got to be thinking and acting in ways that are faith-driven, but also active, proactive, and willing to take risks and try things. And I think that's really, really important for people who are listening, who may be identifying with what you're talking about, is if you're not failing, you're not trying. And failure is always an option. You know, we always like to say, well, failure is not an option. Well, it is. It's always an option. And in fact, it should be one of many options. And if it fails, then we pick ourselves up and we try something new. And in fact, what a lot of people saw when Jesus was on that cross was a failure, is that this man who had claimed to be God and to do all the things that he did had failed. And he didn't. He was achieving what it was that God needed him to do. And the victory was right around the corner. We're not to Easter yet. We're still in the season of Lent, and we want to make sure we focus on that. But we always have to keep Easter in mind as we're moving through these times in our lives. The darkness will not always be dark. As a friend of mine likes to say, the worst thing is never the last thing. It never is.
You know, and then you say that, and we're here. There are a lot of people around you that God has put around you, and and don't get me wrong, I have a fantastic support system. I have from family to friends to, I have an incredible team at my job, because I have an incredible nucleus. I was looking for that word, nucleus around me, and it's my failure in my mind. And my wife says, you don't understand that you're not failing.
Right.
You're not failing. This is not this is a learning lesson. Absolutely it is, but it doesn't make it any easier mentally.
Right.
So it just, I don't know. It hit me this week. You know, I had a week last week as well. And I got to tell you, and Sean will get a kick out of this. Last week, I kind of felt, early in the week, I kind of felt like, even in ministry, but because of what's going on in my career or my line of work, we'll call it, I felt like because I had started to feel like I was failing there, I felt like I was failing here, right? And you start to get, and that's where the quicksand comes in, right? That's how I came up with that, is because I felt like I was failing in my career. I felt like I was failing here, and my marriage is good. We have a great relationship, but then you start to have doubts there, and then you start to have doubts in your faith, right? Sure. And that's where it all comes from. And I had a friend call me last week, and just at the right time. And actually, it was kind of weird that he called and said, "I just want you to know you're making a difference, and here's how." And so it was a huge pick me up, because I needed that. So if you notice somebody around you that is making a difference and they don't think they are, it take 30 seconds, man, and give them a phone call, shoot them a text, something. Hey, you were making a difference. And I didn't do this today because it slipped my mind, but I just wanted to text my wife to say today and say, you're the reason I smile. Right. And so if you think about it, do it, because I did drop the ball on that one, but she doesn't know the difference, but I do. Right. So
that is such a great, it's a great practice. And, you know, we talk a lot about practices during the season of Lent, practicing fasting by denying ourselves certain things, but also practicing new spiritual disciplines. And a very simple discipline that you can start adding to your life, it's so simple, is just we are always on our phones. We're always using that phone. Just scroll through, find somebody in your contacts that you haven't reached out to for a while, and send them an encouraging word. You know, I mean, call them, text them, whatever you feel led to do. But I'm telling you, you never know when just a simple text or a simple call to tell somebody, hey, I'm thinking about you, and I'm proud of you. And, you know, if you know of something that they've done that somebody else maybe has talked about, you know, how many times do we do something and we don't think we're doing a good job, and 8 other people go to somebody else and talk about you, and they never go to you to tell you. You ever feel like that?
All the time.
And then, so when you hear somebody saying something good about somebody else, go and tell that person, say, hey, you know, this is what I heard, and I just want you to know that you give them an attaboy. You know, I think that's a great discipline, great practice.
Absolutely. I remember that when you saying that, I remembered about people talking to other people about you in a good way, hopefully. I remembered I was freshly divorced, I was in a pretty dark place. I just was kind of down on myself and in a pretty rough place. And I had happened to have my children, and we were walking through Walmart. I believe that's where we were. And I was interacting with my kids. And about 3 days later, I get a text from somebody who had talked to somebody, and this is from my car business days as well, but they were all anyway, they text me, and he said, "Hey, I talked to so-and-so, and she said you have got to be one of the best fathers she's ever seen."
Wow.
And it was just like, it was kind of an instant, okay, I am doing this right. You know what I mean? So that being said, if you are in that spot, just know that don't doubt God, because God will pull through. Maybe not in the way. And I told you we were watching The Chosen. We had this discussion earlier here this evening, and we were talking about now. Disclaimer: all the historic. What do you call them? You said it earlier.
They take some liberties.
They take some liberties. That's it. They do take some liberties, but and we both agree that it's the point behind the movie,
Right.
And when it's Simon in the movie, but it's who does Jesus change his name to?
Peter.
Peter.
Okay.
So Simon/Peter. Him and his wife lose a baby, and he doubts Jesus at that point. And there's a storyline in there, and it's one of the side stories or whatever. But he doubted Jesus, and Jesus was testing his faith, if you will. Not testing. Testing is a bad word, but he was making him. This happens for a reason. This is God's will.
Yeah.
So if you're in that stage, I just encourage you to reach out and talk to somebody either here at the church. Join us sometime during service or one of our Bible studies, or if you have kids, come to. We're starting a new mothers group. If you're a mom and you just feel like you're in quicksand because of family and kids, and or you're going through some relationship stuff or career stuff like I am, you just you come. We're starting a moms group every other Sunday. There'll be more of that on our website. It's just join one of these groups, because there's a lot of good people here.
Yeah. If you're just tuning in like you don't know anything about Pekin First or who we are, I would say start at pekinfirst.org. That's your best place to start. And if you're not an internet person, then I would say give the church a call. Shoot us an email. If you do email info@pekinfirst.org, call us here, ask to speak to somebody. We want to make sure you have all the information you need. There is so much happening here. And I hope you're keeping up with Josh's Monday information. There's a little video that comes out every Monday that gives you some idea about what's going to be happening that week. You got the podcast here. Every Sunday, there's a live stream of the worship service. So you have a number of different opportunities. You have no excuse.
That's right.
That you can't say, I don't know what's going on there. We have so many ways for you to connect, and we sure hope that you will check out what's going on here and maybe think about getting involved.
Absolutely. And this is a good week to tune in. We have our sermon series, Jesus from the Cross.
7 words.
7 words.
Yeah.
So can you give us a little preview for this week?
Yeah, I'll give you a little snapshot. This week is a very interesting phrase. We're shifting from the Gospels of Matthew, Mark, and Luke to the Gospel of John. And if you know anything about the Gospels, you know John's Gospel is a lot different than Matthew, Mark, and Luke. So even the things that Jesus says from the cross in John are different in some ways. So this Sunday, we're going to look at this phrase, and it's quoted in John, where he looks down from the cross and he sees his mother and he sees the disciple that he loves, and he says to them, "Mother, here is your son, and son, here is your mother." And that seems like such a obscure and strange thing for Jesus to say, but I'm telling you, it has some deep significance for us as it relates to, I'll just say, relationships, connectivity, loneliness, isolation, how we are to find our place in the new family that Jesus is starting. So little taste of that.
Awesome. And then we do have the Bible study going on that correlates with that the 7 words, Jesus from the cross. And that happens on Tuesday mornings at 9 a.m. here at the church, Wednesday evenings at 6 p.m. And that one is online or in person. And then Sunday mornings here in the youth room with Val. So we have all that good stuff going on. Just a little teaser because I got a note from Meg and Ron today. They just got back from Chicago from their mission trip. We're going to have them on very soon.
Yeah.
And they're going to talk about their mission trip. So if you're listening and you have kids that want to get want to get involved in the church here and mission trips and stuff like that, we're going to have them on in a couple weeks. We'll try to put a preview out for that. This Wednesday, speaking of gatherings, we have the Lenten lunches. And this week, I'm not going to lie, this is going to be one of my favorite ones. So Pastor Heather Robertson will be here. And so I grew up in faith with Heather. We joined the church together. We did studies together. So she is miles ahead of me because she just took off with it. But we are the same faith age is what
Well, and Heather was a minister here at Pekin First for a while. She is now the lead pastor at the St. Luke's United Church of Christ here in town, or St. Paul's, United Church of Christ. And she's got a great message for us. She told me today that she's going to be preaching out of Matthew chapter 25. And it is one of my favorite passages where Jesus talks about the sheep and the goats and what it requires for us to enter into the kingdom of heaven. And it has to do with the way we treat the least of these. And I think it's going to be a powerful message. We have a delicious lunch provided. I think we're doing Asian food this week, some kind of special fried rice and some different things. And it's always delicious and it's free. It's no charge. You can donate if you'd like to. We'd love for you to do that. But make sure you reserve your spot so we know how much food to make. We almost ran out this week, which is a good thing. But Jesus multiplies things, and we always have plenty. So come on out. Let us know that you're coming. You can register right through our website. If you just go to pekinfirst.org/Easter, you'll see a sign up there, and you can sign up and let us know you're coming.
We are also coming down to the final days where you can order a lily. The Easter lily just represents purity and new beginnings. And we like to fill the sanctuary for our Easter services on Saturday night and for Sunday morning with just lilies. We want to fill every aisle. We're fill the chancel area, fill every aisle, fill the lobby. Just make it a sea of white. So if you want to order a lily in memory of somebody or in memory of, maybe you just had a rough year and it's time for a new beginning and Easter is going to be that start. Order a lily.
Yeah, you can do that. And then after the service on Easter, you can take that home with you. If you plant those things in your backyard, I know this from experience that they will regrow the next year. You'll have a new lily in your backyard the next year. It's pretty amazing. So,
for those of you who don't know, Pastor Sean and I share something very, very good in common together, and that is both of our wives love to plant, love to do gardens and stuff like that. And that's when they get together. That's just that's everything they talk about.
They are both really excited about right now because the weather seems to be wanting to move to spring, and flowers are blooming and things are growing, and so there's an excitement around our homes, I think, right now.
Absolutely, yeah. She was out laying out her garden the other day. It was kind of funny. I'm like, it's a little cold, don't you think? She's like, no, it'll get there.
Right.
I'm like, okay. And we also have a cool Easter egg hunt. This is something a little different from every Easter egg hunt in the area. This is a glow-in-the-dark Easter egg hunt, and we'll have information on our Monday update this week. We'll have information on our Sunday beginning. I believe it starts at 7 or 7:30. There's a raffle that goes along with it, all kinds of games. And then as the younger kids will go right before dark, right before sunset. And then a little bit after sunset, it's still kind of light out, but not really light out, but enough for the eggs to just glow in the dark and that's we hold that at Grace, but on their lawn there, and it's an amazing sight. It's a lot of light in the darkness, if you know what I mean.
That'll be the Saturday preceding Easter on April the 19th. And so fill your whole Easter weekend up. We've got a Maundy Thursday service. That's the Thursday before Easter. Maundy just is a word that is based off the Latin word mandate, which is Jesus gave a mandate on the Thursday night before he was crucified. He said, new commandment I give you, love one another as I have loved you. So that's the mandate, that we're to love each other as Jesus loved us. And then we call it Maundy Thursday. It's also the night he instituted the Lord's Supper. He washed the disciples' feet. And so we celebrate that. We're going to celebrate that together with our brothers and sisters at Grace Church over there. And then on Friday night, we have a Good Friday service. And that's always a very somber time for us to reflect on the crucifixion of Christ and to linger there. We don't want to get to Easter too fast. We want to make sure we stay with Jesus at the cross and remember what it was he did for us and remind ourselves of that. So a very powerful Good Friday service at 7 o'clock on Good Friday. Our contemporary band will be leading us in music that night, and I think it'll be a really special service. And then Saturday, the Easter egg hunt. We have worship that night, an Easter service on Saturday night at 5, and then 2 Easter services on Sunday at 8 a.m. and 10 a.m. as well. So.
All right. Well, it has been a pleasure being here with you this week, and we look forward to seeing you next week. Anything to close out with?
Thank you all for being here, for tuning in. Continue to watch and share this with as many people as you want to. We want to get the word out, and hopefully what we bring to you every week is inspirational and helpful in your lives. And just know we love you, and we're here for you.
And remember, God put us here to do great things. So let's go do great things.